Welcome back to What Are We Doing? Part 2, where we're looking at and talking about purpose, right? Why are we waking up in the morning? What are we doing here as individuals, as a species, right? What are we doing? And last week we talked about an idea that was like easy, but also very difficult. Easy in the sense that it's pretty passive, difficult in the sense that it's hard to do, though. And that idea was your purpose is to allow yourself to be loved by God, right? Easy, I mean, you don't have to do much. Difficult, you have all these internal and external voices that are constantly letting you know, no, you're actually very unworthy of being loved. You need to get X, Y, and Z in order first before you're like worthy of being loved. But the reality is that list will never end, and you always feel like there's one more thing I need to do or do better or get right before I'm actually worthy. But that's the lie, right? And that's the difficulty, is understanding that that's a lie and allowing yourself to be loved. So this week, it'll be a little more active, and we'll be talking about a different verse. The verse that we are talking about this week is Matthew chapter 28, verses 19 and 20. And it's kind of cool. These are like the last words that Jesus says to his disciples before ascending into heaven, right? And what he tells them is he says, go to all the nations and make disciples, teaching them what I taught you and baptizing them, right? So our mission from Jesus, our purpose is go make disciples. Now, I think a lot of times where we get it mixed up or we get it twisted, like we think, okay, so a disciple, well, that means we need to go teach other people how to be like us, right? Making a disciple means going to a place where people are not like us and making them like us. But that's not really the point or how it's supposed to work, right? Because even from the Gospels, which is mostly focused on Jesus, we get this picture, this idea that all of his disciples are different. They have different personalities. Some are a little more brash, some are a little more bold, some are more loving and sensitive, right? They're kind of all over the map. But Jesus's goal is not to get them into like uniformity so that they're all exactly the same, right? That's not what he's trying to do. And so if Jesus didn't do that, then that shouldn't be our goal either, right? Our goal in making disciples is taking that message that we talked about last week, that you are worthy of love, and then bringing that to the world, right? Bringing that message to the world. And in doing that, right, those people then become disciples because they are learning the way of being loved and the way of love, right? And Jesus was all about love, especially sacrificial love, right? And so if we are giving up our time, our energy, our own selfish pursuits in order to go remind people how much they are loved, right? Then that is also a sacrificial love. And we are becoming like Jesus in doing that, right? We are disciples going and making other disciples by spreading this message of love, right? And when we look at Jesus, that's exactly what he did, right? Jesus often went to the lowest places, the people who were hurting, the people who were outcast, the people who were sick, the people who were in prison, and the people not even in like a physical prison, but the people who were in a prison of their own making. And Jesus went there and reminded them, you are worthy. You are loved, you are not forgotten, and you are worthy, right? And oftentimes he would follow up with some instruction, right? When we think of that woman who is about to be stoned to death, right? He tells her at the end, Go and sin no more. And that's like the piece that like people love to cling on to. Like, okay, so that's my job. Go tell people don't sin, right? But the idea is Jesus is telling you, you are already loved. You are already the image bearer of God, right? And me telling you this thing, this is supposed to be like helping you out so that you are not caught up in these situations and in these circumstances again, that you are no longer bound by the prison that you have made for yourself, right? But the go and sin no more does not change how much God loves you, does not change the way that you bear the image of God. Those things are already set, they cannot be changed. Improving your behavior will not make God love you anymore and will not make you bear the image of God anymore, right? That's in you from birth. And so when we are going and making disciples, sure, if we think we have an idea of how to get someone out of a circumstance or a situation that they have placed them in, then it would be unkind not to tell them how to do that, right? But our focus is to remind people how loved they are. Because a lot of times we get stuck in these places or these prisons because we think we don't deserve anything better. This is our lot in life now. This is what's been given to me. This is probably what I deserve because I'm probably a piece of garbage. And so our job is to go tell the truth to people that that is not true. And when it says go to other nations, now obviously we can take that literally. There's nothing wrong with that, and go to other nations. But I think we can also understand it as go to the places that are not your home. Go to the places that you are uncomfortable going to, the places where people are different than you are. And again, not with the goal of making them like you, but the goal of letting them know you, this person who's different, whose life is different than mine, you are just as loved by God right here where you are, right? So may we keep our eyes open for people that are different than us, for places where different people are, that we can go and remind people how loved they are. The groups and the type of people who are often neglected or forgotten by society, the people who are looked down upon, the people who are scorned or hated, those are the people who need to be reminded most how much they are loved, right? So, mission 2, purpose number 2 is to take that message from the first week and bring it to the hurting places in the world that need it the most. Next week, it'll be interesting. It'll be something a little bit different. I don't even want to start to get into it. Next week will be very different. But we'll get there in a week. We'll just have to be patient, won't we? I hope you all have a good week. I look forward to seeing you on our Wednesday night gatherings. And that is it for me. Toodaloo!